And now we are recording.
Oh my God. You know, it came to my mind earlier in our call and I started like going down another tangent. So I was like, crap, I forgot to mention it.
I know, so many times. I'm so
I
sorry.
know. It's one of the things I would always forget. Mm-hmm.
I can remember, I can repeat. I can repeat what I just said. So for this lesson with the beautiful and talented Charisse, what we are discussing in our lessons today is our marketing for both our communication with our motivated sellers as well as our motivated lease tenant buyers. Okay. So Charisse, you are interested in the sublease strategy where you would control a property using a master lease with a property owner. And then within the master lease, it gives you the authority to sublet each room within that property to individual tenants. And then you would have a separate lease agreement for each individual in that property. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's what we're working on. And then your question today for our training session is, how do you create the websites, the marketing, string all of the different conversations along to get people to the point where they click and submit their information to you as follow-up. That's where we're going, right?
That's right.
Perfect. So our conversation with the property owner is going to be different from our conversation with the actual sublease tenant. And rightfully so, because each of their needs are distinctively different. All right. They have two different problems and they have two different desires. So there's two different solutions that we have to offer to each of them to make it advantageous, because each of them are going to be asking themselves questions when they're talking to you, which is, what is in it for me, right? There's a whole self-centered perspective, right? The human perspective is like, so how does this affect me and my family, what I want to do, that kind of thing, right?
Right.
So most property owners, you have two property owner types. And the first property owner type is an individual that intentionally set out to be a landlord and intentionally set out to cash flow that property. Okay. They really wanted to do that. So they said, okay, this is a property I'm going to buy. And I've wrapped my mind around the idea that somebody else besides me is going to live in that property. Mm-hmm. And when you have a landlord, their expectation is they're going to receive cash on cash return over the long term. And what happens to landlords, even when they are successful, they still experience anomalies in their business model, to include vacancies, right? Because they may have a best tenant or a great tenant, but that tenant gets a job somewhere across town or in another state, and they're really, really good tenant that they really, really don't want to lose, that was taking care of their property in the most best way, is now going to leave. So now they have a vacancy, they have a concern. Is the next tenant going to take care of my property the same way that this other person did, right? So now they have a vacancy and they're trying to find another replacement tenant. And that's where you come in, because their ultimate goal when they bought that property was long-term cash flow. And that's the solution that you're offering to them. And you're offering a long-term lease with maintenance. So that means that you are going to take on the responsibility of actually maintaining the property up to a certain dollar amount. All right. So you're agreeing that, hey, when the toilet stops up, don't even worry about it, property owner. I'll take care of that on my dime. I'm going to do that for you. So that's an actual incentive. That's a benefit, right? When the refrigerator goes out and the motor in the refrigerator or the condenser or something like that malfunctions, you're going to take care of that. If the washing machine, breaks down or the dryer stops drying, you're also going to take care of that. And what I would include is a dollar value of a repair of $250 or less. And sometimes in rare circumstances, you can go up to $500 or less. Okay. Because that's usually, those are types of repairs that landlords have nightmares about at night.
Yeah.
Because just one or two repairs within that lease period that they have with that tenant can disrupt their entire cash flow.
Yeah.
Because to be honest with you, most landlords are really only making very small margins, because sometimes that property is already leveraged with a mortgage.
Yeah.
So $200 to $300 at most. So if they have a $500 repair for that month, now they have a negative cash flow.
Right.
And that's pretty painful. They don't like that.
Yeah.
Right. Or when they are experiencing a vacancy and it takes them 2 months to find the right tenant, or 2 to 3 months, that's 2 to 3 months of them paying that mortgage payment and the maintenance and the utilities for that property without receiving any cash flow. So when they do receive a successful replacement tenant, they are climbing out of a deficit.
Yeah.
That they have to make up from the monies that they had to put into that property, right?
Right.
So that's the first category. And then the second category of property owners would be property owners that had no intent on being a landlord. They ended up being landlords by default. That's what I call it, landlords by default. So the property that they own is a property that they had lived in or was currently living in, and then they had a life change or a disruption in their life that caused them to have to convert from, this is my primary residence, to now this is a investment property that I never intended on it being a investment property. Yep.
A lot of sense.
Yes. And you have a lot more individuals like that than you do that fit category number one of the individuals that set out intentionally to be landlords.
Wow. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Because Americans, God bless us, we are so transient. We're, every 3 to 5 years, we are moving anyway.
Exactly. Yeah.
We buy a home and we're like, okay, this is my forever ever house. And then it's like 5 years later,
we get distracted with another shiny house down the street.
We're like, I need another garage.
Yeah.
I need a house with a pool, or I want a house single story now, and this one has 2 stories, and I don't like going up the stairs. Like, we're so blessed. We are. Yeah. We're so blessed in that aspect to be able to have the ability to move around as we do in this wonderful country that we live in. Yeah. So now we have these 2 categories of individuals. However, both categories of individuals, they have an ultimate desire, an ultimate goal. And what they want, both of them, is peace of mind, security, right? They want security, they want peace of mind, and they want convenience. Yep. That's all they want, along with positive cash flow, right?
Yep.
And the reason why they want positive cash flow is because they have a vision of a lifestyle that they see themselves and their families living into. Yep. So when you speak to them in your marketing, it has to resonate with that ultimate desire of freedom lifestyle, with the convenience and the cash flow, with low maintenance. Hot day. Sign me up right now.
Right. Well, there's other factors at play in there, right? It's like, so, because that's the other, when we're talking about the landlord side, with their mortgage, right? With their monthly mortgages relative to what they're renting, relative to also what the rental market is. I mean, all of that is playing into playing into this whole, thing. And so what I need to understand is like, how do I, how is money really being made? And so I guess if a rental is going for, let's say, $2,000, and that's what the market is bearing for a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment, if their mortgage is $1,800, I mean, yeah, I just need to understand when is it beneficial for me to go into the deal and when is it not, right? And then how do you talk down a landlord? Because you're offering and you're bringing in this, you're being their savior, if you will, with bringing in all of these ways of helping them and supporting their business. But how do you go into it intelligently in a way that, makes sense for you, but also talking them down from taking less money, if they can, of course, because they may or may not have a mortgage. That's what I need to understand. If you can help me out with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's misnomer, right? That you need to understand.
Yeah.
Most of these landlords are not profitable.
Mm.
Just so you know, they are not profitable.
Mm.
They're not.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't know that they don't know that they're not profitable.
Mm. Wow.
They think they are, but they're not. What they think they are is really breaking even. And in most cases, they are at a loss.
Yeah.
But because they're not experiencing a loss month to month, it doesn't really resonate with them.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
And this is the reason why property managers exist in the first place, is because most property owners do not want to manage their property. So there is a really deep desire and demand for a hands-off type of relationship with their properties. They did not want to be babysitting their properties in the first place.
Yep.
So when you are speaking to a property owner and you are offering them a long-term solution for their property with guaranteed rents for X amount of years, that's music to their ears. You're differentiating yourself from every other caller that wants to do either month to month or maybe a one-term lease. So that's one of the first benefits that is going to set your conversation apart from them. Now, as far as negotiating what the monthly rent is going to be, it is going to be contingent upon, do they have a mortgage on the property? And what is that mortgage on that property? Because they can't afford to go less than that mortgage, right?
Right.
They can't afford to go less than that mortgage. But there are times where their mortgage payment exceeds what the average rent is for that area. Where their mortgage payment exceeds what the average rent is for that area. I see that all the time. They're like, well, I can't afford to take anything less because my mortgage payment is $2,000 per month. And I'm like, well, the average rent for a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom in your neighborhood is $1,500 per month. So this is the reason why your house is experiencing the vacancies, because maybe you'll get a family that can pay $2,000 per month for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. But, after like 90 days, 120 days, they're going to experience some kind of hardships eventually, or they're going to start to be late on those payments. So what you may need to consider is that, you need to refinance your home because you need to reduce your monthly output and obligation, your monthly liabilities for that property, or consider taking a rental amount that actually is guaranteed every single month, and it is less than your mortgage, but you know that you receive it every single month. Every single month. It's not a pie in the sky number where the first of the month you're hoping, wishing, praying that you actually receive it. Right. And there's many property owners that pay the difference in their mortgage. Like the rent that they collect does not cover their mortgage. Wow. That's a real thing.
That is amazing. I never realized that.
Yeah, that's actually pretty common.
Wow.
It's pretty common.
Mm-hmm.
It's uncommon to be profitable, but
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty common to have negative cash flow with properties. It happens all the time.
Wow. Wow.
And then if they're out of state or in another region, in another area, or they don't have the capacity or the know-how or the
Mm-hmm.
desire to
Mm-hmm.
manage their own property, they'll hire a property management company that charges them 10%, 10 to 15% of the monthly rents collected
Mm-hmm.
as their fee to manage the property and provide oversight on that property.
Mm-hmm.
And it still does not eliminate them from having to do the maintenance or pay for the repairs.
It still
So,
doesn't eliminate the landlord?
no, it doesn't. No, because what the property management company is going to do is they're going to identify what the repair is, the estimate is, and they're going to send the property owner a
Wow.
invoice. Say, hey, the dishwasher, the tenant says the dishwasher is broken.
Mm-hmm.
Our handyman is ready and available. We have a technician ready and available to fix this on your behalf, and it's going to be $300.
Mm-hmm.
That's exclusive from their fee that they collect for maintaining the property for that month as well.
Wow. Interesting.
Yes. So you have a property that is $2,000 per month for rent, right?
Yeah.
And they have a property management company that's charging them 10%.
Yeah.
Okay, great. How much is the property management company collecting per month?
10%, they're collecting $200.
Perfect. So the net difference that the property owner receives is $1,800, right? Because $200 from 2,000 is 1,800.
Right.
Maybe their mortgage is like $1,795.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's barely enough. It's just enough.
Right. Wow.
And God forbid there's a repair or an anomaly.
Seriously.
Now they're at a deficit and they still have to pay the property management.
Right. Oh my God. Oh my gosh. I found a property management company out in Atlanta. I don't know if you've heard of them, but they're called Gatekeeper Properties. And surprisingly, they had their lease, their master lease up on the website already filled in. So I was able to kind of see all that they require, right? What their contracts look like. And I think they may be the exception here because I think they do support some of the maintenance cost. I got to relook at it, but I thought I saw something in there that they do. But one thing they don't do, and this is the question I had for you with this master lease, what we're talking about, is that obviously if there's vacancies, they're not covering vacancies. In this, under this, what we're talking about and discussing, I wouldn't be covering vacancies if I'm signing a master lease, correct?
Well, master lease goes both ways. It depends on the language that you put into the master lease. That's the beautiful thing about real estate.
Yeah.
You can literally negotiate anything.
Anything. Right.
So there are master leases where vacancies, they are not under the obligation to continue to pay if there is a vacancy. And there are master leases that say, if there is a vacancy, we will continue to send the money every single month as well.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's all about your preference and what you will do for the owner. What are you promising them?
Right.
What are you about to give to them? What is going to make it advantageous for you? So here's how that would work if you did promise to continue to pay them.
Yeah.
Because it's no different in theory than when a regular property owner has a lease with a regular tenant. If that tenant loses their job or goes into financial hardship, is the rent still not due?
You still do, honey.
Right. The landlord expects to collect, right?
Yeah.
So it's not a irrational idea
No.
to continue to pay even if there's a vacancy. All right. But how you make this in your benefit? That's the question. How do I make this in my benefit? How do I make them want to work with me?
Yeah.
If you do have that clause in there where you say, I still guarantee you rents, even if there's a vacancy, what that means to you is that you just have to have some reserves set aside to support that benefit that you're adding onto them. Or the way how your sublease is designed is that you know that you rarely are going to have vacancies, right? So as real estate investors, we only commit to what we know we can actually do. So we're not going to promise something and then under deliver on our own promises, right?
Right.
So this is how you are able to make sure that you don't have any vacancies where it's coming out of your pocket. You will have a list of eligible tenants just pending. So if you have one that wants to move out, you have another one that's ready to move in like the next day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's how you decrease that risk.
So that's how you also say we guarantee? Because when I cringe at that word guarantee, because I'm like, nothing in life is guaranteed. So how do I say guaranteed?
Well,
be okay
you don't have to guarantee, but
Yeah.
what you do is you can elect to pay. You reserve the right to, because that's one of the things that you can do. You can reserve the right to continue to pay in the event of vacancies when for a maximum of 30 days. Like you can write that in there for a maximum of 30 days. So if it exceeds 30 days, then you reserve the right not to pay until you can find a replacement sublease tenant. But at least for 30 days, the property owner may, receive funds. So you give yourself a 30-day window.
Got it.
For a replacement in there.
Got it. And the other idea around renting rooms as opposed to the whole entire apartment, my assumption is that the landlord has to be okay with that, right?
Yes, you definitely have to inform them of what your intent is. So it's no different a conversation that you would say, hey, Mr. Landlord, my intent is to do an Airbnb. They have to be okay with that, right? They have to know what business model you plan on executing within their property, because it's still not your property, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
Or if you are going to run a daycare center in their property, or if you are going to do an adult, daycare center or a assisted living facility, a residential assisted living facility, you would have to inform that property owner of what your usage of that property would be.
Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. I think you cleared up some things that I was just like, how does this work? And so then going back to the last point of, let's say there's money on the table every month, they have a low mortgage, and, let's say their mortgage is $1,200, but they're making money and they're renting market rate at, $1,800. Obviously, they want to keep making that money every month, but if they're bringing me in, it's my job to explain my value in terms of what I'm offering them. So how do you get a seller to say, okay, I'll take less money?
That's a great question.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, the actual scenario is you have a property owner and their monthly liability on that property is $1,200. Is that what you said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And they are renting the property for $1,800, $1,800 per month.
Yes.
So they have a potential cash flow of $600 per month. Is that right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. How do you convince them to negotiate with them, actually, because you can't convince them. You're
Yeah.
negotiating with them to take less than
Mhm.
$1,800 per month. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, great. So what is the risk factor to them at $1,800 a month? What's the risk?
The risk factor at 1,800, there is no real risk because they're covered. It's more their market, their house is sitting in a market where it's taking in more than they need to, right? So
Mhm. Well,
it's
there actually
minimum.
is.
It is?
There is a risk,
Okay.
because at the $1,800 a month, that's more than likely the height of the market, right? It's maxing the market out for the market rent. So the risk to them is that they may have a fluctuation in market value for rent. They may have a vacancy, an unexpected vacancy, because that rent is high compared to what people's salaries can actually afford. The third risk to that rental amount is an unexpected repair
Yeah.
that can come out of that money. So
Okay.
there is risk for them. There is.
Okay.
So in your conversation with them, what you are committing to is, no matter what the fluctuation in the market rents are, you will be consistent at 1650 or 1675 or 1700. You will be consistent at that.
What
No
do you
matter what the consistent, meaning that you would be paying that amount, although less than what they're collecting right now. If there's any fluctuation in values, any fluctuation in changes or demand in the market, you would still commit to giving them at least $1,700 per month. That's $100 savings.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
All right.
Now, you also are a corporate client. You're not a client where you are contingent upon your employer, right?
Right.
So that's a whole different type of relationship with them. So as a corporate entity renting from them, you're going to be renting from them 2, 3, 4 years at a time, long term.
Okay.
So the benefit there for them is that you reduce the possibility of a vacancy after 12 months when the lease is up for renewal and the current owner or the current property occupant does not want to rent anymore to them. They don't want to stay in that property and want to move and go someplace else, right? So you're reducing the risk of vacancy to them and reducing the risk of them not collecting any money in the event that they have a tenant that wants to move out, or a tenant that loses their job and can't afford to pay, or some kind of anomaly like that.
Because I'm committing to 4 years.
Right. Because
Okay.
that is the benefit between you, a corporate
Yeah.
tenant with a master lease,
Yes.
versus
Yeah.
a regular family.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
very similar to have you ever been to the mall? And I'm sure you have.
Mhm.
And you see all of the department stores in those
Yes.
malls. Okay, there's a property management company that manages that property for the entire mall,
Yes, I see.
for the investors that own that property.
Got it.
So that property management company is the one who has the master lease. And then they sublease it to those retail stores.
Yes.
Those retail stores, the benefit to them, they have leases. They have 5-10-year leases at a time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Macy's is not going to move out
Right.
after 12
Right.
months out of the
Right.
mall, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
JCPenney is not going to move out. They're too vested.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
that's the scenario that you're painting for that property owner. They're not used to wrapping their mind around that, but this is a conversation where you begin to educate them on the benefits of long-term leases. So they're not trying to grab all of their money up front like they were previously doing. The reason why their rents were so high to begin with is because out of fear that they weren't going to get any money. So let me get my money all up front.
I see. I see. I see. Okay. Okay.
That's really why they're price gouging, is because they believe that they may lose. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to show and educate them how they are going to win
Mm-hmm.
by having the consistency and a long-term lease.
Right.
And
Right.
the third um, pressure point for those property owners is the risk of having a repair bill that's unexpected. So you're sharing with them, the property owner, hey, Mr. Property Owner, along with guaranteed rents for this specific period of time. Oh, by the way, during this period of time, if there are any repairs that are $250 or less, don't even worry about it. We're going to take care of it.
Mm-hmm.
We will only call you or communicate with you when the repairs are at this level and exceed this threshold.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to get you involved because your personal insurance, property insurance, now has to deal with this repair.
Right.
That those are big repairs, right? So
Okay.
how can you commit to actually making those repairs? You just get a home warranty. That's
Me
what you would do.
personally, the business. The business.
Exactly. The business will get a warranty for that particular property,
Okay.
which is what, $300 for the entire year. So if there is any unexpected repairs, it'll be applied to that warranty. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. That's how we get our repairs taken care of. And that $300 warranty still doesn't have to come from you. It can come from funds collected from your sublease tenants.
Got it. Okay. Okay. All right. That's really helpful. I'm going to play this video back so as I get working. But yeah, I see. I see. So I'm committing to initially, like you said, bringing that number down, right? So making them feel safe is because I'm committing to a certain dollar amount every month. Um, and so, yeah, I just got to get comfortable with the idea of committing to that, right? And I know that I think it all boils down, right? If my marketing is right, because this is about marketing. So if my marketing is on point and I'm drawing and attracting tenants, right? That's going to feed the business that will guarantee the rents, right? But getting the marketing up and running is where I am totally weak in. That I need to learn how to do that because I really
Right.
don't. Yeah.
And I believe that you're putting too much emphasis on the marketing
Really?
because the my students that you watch the training videos for,
Yeah.
they were able to secure their first
Yeah.
master lease in like 30 days.
Really?
35 days, right? They
Amazing.
were very aggressive
Yeah.
because how you are successful is by communicating your message with as many people as possible, right?
Okay.
So I gave them their goal. At least they told me what their goals was.
Yeah.
And I broke their goals down to daily specific tasks that they had to do. How
Yeah.
many people per day, per week, per month they had to speak to in order to get successful contracts signed. And
Yeah.
their goal was 3 contracts signed per month with a positive cash flow of $600 per contract. So they wanted to net $1,800 per month from properties that they didn't even own.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? So they had to be very, very aggressive. They were calling, they created their marketing list, and the best sales funnel they had at the time was a phone funnel. They got on the phone and they started speaking to these property owners,
Okay.
talking to them, going through the education process.
Mm-hmm.
And even those that were not interested at the time, they put them in a follow-up calendar reminder and called them 30 days later because the probability is that property is still vacant.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they just kept calling until, they had
Yeah.
these conversations with the property owners and they could intelligently explain. Now, the reason why you are negotiating less for the market rent that they are asking for, that the property owner's asking for, is because it's long term. You expect to get a discount. Why wouldn't I get a discount? Okay. So you need to expect to receive benefit too, because you are looking out for their best interest long term.
Yep.
So the trade-off in that negotiation is that I receive some marginal decrease to help my business be successful. And in return, I'm going to help you be successful, Mr. Property Owner, by making sure that you have the cash flow that you originally set out to receive with this property, so that you can take that cash and go do X.
Right.
Because whatever that was, X is or represents is the real desire. It's not the property. So it requires you to build rapport with that property owner and uncover and discover what their real true intentions are, what their real true pain is. Why do they even have the property in the first place? And then you will recognize that a lot of them became landlords by default.
Right. Okay.
More often than not, they became landlords by default. And because they are uneducated regarding the different types of cash flowing, creative real estate exit strategies that they could perform with that property, their limited understanding is, hey, let me just rent it. That's all they know how to do. They don't know how to do anything else.
Right.
Let me just rent it.
So when you say your clients are cash flowing, let's say about $600 a month per property. So like break it down, like one house, 3 bedrooms, let's say, I don't know, the rent is, I don't know. I mean, can you break it down how they're able to yield the $600 and they're renting room by room by room? Like, how does that work?
We actually worked it backwards, because we said that they wanted to cash flow $20,000 per month in the next 12 months. So how are we going to do that? Right? So we actually worked backwards. $20,000 per month cash flow in the next 12 months. So I said, okay, well, how are we going to do that? Let's divide $20,000 by 12.
Yeah.
And then we got that number. What's that number?
1666.
Okay, perfect. Then we did 1666 and we said, well, what's feasible? Let's divide that by 3. And then that's how we came to that. And what's that total?
So that's 555.
Perfect. So that's how we did it. So we said, we need 3 houses that net us that amount every single month. So that means that every single month they needed to get 3 houses that got them that. So we said, okay, so here's what we need. We had to identify specific properties that would be able to positively give us that type of cash flow. So we said, okay, well, in theory, what you need is 4-bedroom properties, right? You need to have 4-bedroom properties that will do that for you. 4-bedroom properties with an average of $700 per room. And then that gave them the clarity on how much they could go up to, how much they can pay in maximum rents. So they needed 4-bedroom homes. And four times, let's see, 4 times 7 is $2,800. Is that correct?
Right. Yep.
Okay. Well, the average 4-bedroom house is about, I would probably say 1,800 to 2,100, depending on the area.
Yeah.
Okay. So we always went with worst case scenario or the higher tier of the market. So if it's $2,100 for a 4-bedroom, but they're collecting $2,800, what's the difference?
Wait a minute. Oh, I see what you're saying. So if we're going with 21, that's $700.
Perfect. Now, out of that $700, I told them, listen, you can't spend all of it, right? You're going to have to put some aside for reserves, which is important, as any real estate investor should do. So we're going to take a portion of that $700 and put aside for reserves every single month, just in case of any type of unexpected situation. So I told them to take $150 and set it aside as emergency fund, and that left them with $550, right?
Yep.
Yep. So in our mathematics that we did a moment ago, it was $555, right? When we did the division. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So in essence, basically, they would set aside $145 out of that net amount.
Yeah.
And then $555 would be their profit, and they still had accounted for their reserves.
So the average 4-bedroom house, $2,100 a month, but because you're renting each room out individually, you can still command $700 per room.
That's correct.
Because they're getting access to all of the house, and it's still cheaper than them having to live on their own, obviously, if they were to even rent a 1-bedroom for themselves.
That's correct.
And you would obviously know what the 1-bedroom market is looking like, so you can kind of go from there. Okay.
And it's more than 700. That's a given.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a given.
I see. Okay. All right. Okay, yeah. I was just trying to figure out, like, how do we arrive at? Because I did hear during your call, you were like, okay, you're making about $550 a month. That's what you need to make. So here's how you. And I just didn't understand it. So this is it's starting to make a lot of sense to me.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So when you're calling landlords, you're specifically looking for 4-bedroom houses, right? So now you have your own business model.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. But then also, I'm thinking, I tend to overthink things, right? So now I'm thinking, well, okay, you're finding tenants who are willing to rent 1-bedrooms. They, have to be okay with, the current tenants that might already be occupying the other 3 bedrooms, right? So maybe they only want to live with females. Maybe they only want to live with males. So, but that's its own, thing with the tenant side of finding the right fit. Of course, qualifying them financially to make sure they're okay with it, being able to rent the apartment, but also from a personal standpoint, what are their preferences? So that's, that can be worked out, right?
And those are questions that you would include in your
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
You would include that in your questionnaire. In addition, you're looking for mature people.
Yeah.
Because most people really want a simple life. Yeah. No fuss, no muss, no drama. Yeah. They want to come home and go lay down.
Right. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And the last thing is that I know, like, once I'm a licensed realtor, right? So from my understanding is, like, if I were to become a property manager and find tenants, rent them, collect rents, I am supposed to be doing that under a broker. So under this model, right, if my company, my LLC is renting as under a master lease, then that removes my broker from all of the transactions that I do under this LLC.
Yeah, it should. It absolutely should, because in your disclosures, when you're communicating with the property owner, you're going to inform them that you are a licensed agent and who your broker is. But in this real estate transaction, you're not representing them.
No.
Right? You're not representing them. You are performing as a principal in the transaction. That's what you're doing.
Exactly.
You're renting the property for yourself.
Yep.
Not on behalf of your broker.
That's right. Okay. Got it. This cleared up, I think, all of the questions I had about master leases. So I guess going forward, what's the go forward plan? I guess is my question. I need to get comfortable with having conversations, and that's not something I am currently. Um, so how do we get me there?
Okay.
Yeah.
With practice,
Yeah.
Sharice.
Yeah.
It's all about practice, and no one can eat you alive over the phone.
Yeah.
So you can begin to practice even right now, collecting information and getting acclimated to the questions that you ask property owners. You can go to all the public domain sites where their phone number is available and listed for. They're telling the world, call me. Right. So if you call them, it's not a surprise.
Yeah.
They put their phone number on the World Wide Web saying,
yeah.
house for rent. So you can call them and you can say, I'm interested in more information about your house. We specialize in corporate long-term rentals, in corporate business long-term rentals. And they're going to be like, oh, tell me more. What does that mean? And then it starts a conversation.
Right.
And that's all it is. It just starts a conversation.
Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play back our today's video, right? And and refine, work more on the site. The next call, I'll share with you what I've done. And I will show you the lease. So you and I downloaded, or you helped me download a master lease from Google that we Googled from Google Images. And then I like the one that I found, like I said, from Gatekeepers. Of course, I would need to tweak it to make it fit for me. I'll have an attorney look at it at some point, but I'll share with you, what, if anything, I would want to keep or remove, and we can talk through that.
Oh, yeah, that sounds great.
Okay.
We went through line by line for the template that they had used for their master lease, and it was the same thing.
Wow.
They wanted to know like what things meant, like what terms actually meant, right?
Right. Yeah.
So we can do the same as well.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome sauce. So so I think that's what we'll focus on maybe on the next call, and then start practicing. And
I hear your nervous laugh. I hear it. And I don't even know why.
I know, right? I know. My mom and I were talking the other day, and she's like, man, she's like, I know that you're going to take off with this. You're going to take off. I'm like, I know. I said, once I get that first thing, that first deal, it's going to be freaking sky. The sky's going to be the limit. Like, it is going to be amazing. Like, I know it. I just need to do it. And when I do it, it's going to feel like so natural. And I'm going to, of course I'm going to make mistakes, but I know that I will be fine. Like, I know it. It's just a matter of jumping in,
May I share a suggestion?
Please.
My suggestion is as follows.
Okay.
I would love for you to consider that your performance and your greatness is not tied to any specific outcome or doing.
Okay. Yep.
So it's not if this, then that, or when, or if, or sometime in the future. I want you to recognize the fact that you are great right now.
Okay. Okay.
And because of your greatness, which already exists, you will be applying new tools, new resources to your existing greatness.
Yes. Yeah.
With an expectation of results.
Okay. Yep.
Do you see the difference?
Yes, I do.
So we're not waiting to be great.
Great. Yeah.
I'm right now, whether I make a phone call tomorrow or later on this afternoon,
Yes.
noon or sometime this week. I'm great right now.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
That
Okay.
doesn't change. That's a constant.
Okay. Okay. I am great right now. I
Right.
I have these things hanging up on the wall in front of you can't see, but I have all these cards of affirmations, right? So I'm gonna add that one because I don't have that one up
Right.
there. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, cool.
All
So
right.
I'm looking forward to our next meeting. And then when this recording is uploaded, I'll put it into our folder that you and I share.
Okie dokie.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. And we'll talk again next week. And yeah, thanks again.
No problem.
All
All right.
right,
Thank you
Jackie.
too. Take
Okay.
care. Bye-bye.
How do I do this?